Because I was doing some gigs with my old band, Blue Oyster Cult. Oh, and just a few casual gold records, No biggie. Just Blue Oyster Cult, literally one of the most famous bands in the world. Yes, it's true. Original drummer and founding member of Blue Oyster Cult, Albert Bouchard, sent me an email with his very special guitar story. Naturally, I responded and invited him on Tuesday Talks, which led to this moment.
Here it is.
There it is.
I love that's the best.
So let's just get into this episode, brought to you by CuriosityStream, which for a limited time is being bundled with my streaming platform Nebula, where you can see our full hour-long conversation.
Merry Splendor's guitar stories, six-string tales of woe and glory. Send me your guitar stories, and I might choose to read your guitar stories.
This guitar story comes from Albert and is titled Guitar of Fortune. Dear Mary, I enjoy your vlogs very much and thought you might be able to use my guitar story. I got this 1988 Gibson SGX prototype from my oldest son. It originally belonged to the guitarist in his high school band and he bought it from him when he wanted a new guitar. Well, he got it, but he hadn't paid for it for 2 years. He had wanted a guitar, but he is left-handed, so after trying to play righty, he removed the knobs and played upside down, strung righty. I bought him a lefty guitar and he gave the SG to me. I paid his friend $200 for the guitar, which is what they had agreed to, and used in my band. It is great sounding, great playing guitar, and very reliable. It has been played by a host of notable guitarists: Ricky Byrd, Ross the Boss Friedman, Joe Bouchard, and Buck Dahmer on occasion when they broke strings. While I was getting divorced, I was separated from it for a few years, but finally got it back in the settlement. I cleaned it up and put on a new set of strings. But after just a couple of weeks, the strings and pickups were corroded. I contacted Gibson, and it turned out that the pickguard was made of some kind of experimental material that after some time leaked a gas that corroded anything metal. That's not good. I took off the pickguard, but the corrosion continued. It seemed that the gas had permeated the wood and needed some time to disperse. I stripped off the finish off the top, sanded it, and left the guitar out of the case in the house for a year. Then I put a new pickguard, new pickups, locking tuners, bridge and electronics, and because I was doing some gigs with my old band, Blue Oyster Cult, in celebration of the 40th anniversary of our first big hit album, Agents of Fortune, I had my artist friend paint the album cover on the front of the guitar. It is one of a kind because in addition to the unique artwork, it has 24 frets, a 25.5-inch scale length, string through body, and a single coil Rio Grande Dirty Harry pickup in the neck position, and a split coil Seymour Duncan Saturday Night Special in the bridge. The shirt I'm wearing in the photo is from Paul Nieto, the best luthier in NYC, and the person who set up the guitar and redid the electronics, Albert Bouchard. So I think Albert wins for the biggest band name drop that has happened in the history of guitar stories. So very cool. Very cool. Okay, let's take a look at the pictures. Wow, it is the artwork all across the body. Oh, look at it being painted. Oh, and just a few casual gold records, No biggie. Just Blue Oyster Cult, literally one of the most famous bands in the world. All right, pretty cool.
Tuesday Talks.
When I was just 12 years old, I was taking piano lessons, but I'd stopped piano at 11, started taking drum lessons. So I've been playing drums for a year. And my cousin, Teddy, and my brother Joe wanted to have a band. So I was like, I want to be in your band,
How long did that band last then?
Well,
through your teenage
until
years?
I went to college. 6
Okay.
years. 6 years we played together. We probably played 400 shows, something like that.
Where did you go to college?
It was Clarkson University. So, and I dropped out after 2 years. After I met Don Roser, uh, we said, because the band in college. Okay, so I was in this high school band. It ran like a well-oiled machine. So I went back to college and I said, "Hey guys, I got an idea. Why don't we learn some blues songs?" And Don Roser, Buck Dharma, said, "That's the same idea I had. I saw this great group, the Blues Project, at Cafe Go Go.
What year was this?
This was in 1966. 1966. So,
Okay.
by 1967, we were getting ridiculous money, like $500 a night for the band, which, back then, I mean, professionals would get that. It was like, the Regal Tones, we would get like $50 a show, or something like that, which was great. There was five of us, each of us got $10, but gas was 5 cents a gallon. We dropped out. We tried to get a job in Rochester. We couldn't, all of the tourist places on the Lake Ontario were all booked up. They were like, we book in January, you guys, you come in here in June, you have nothing. So, and those are like very desirable gigs. You get a residency there and you play. So, and then we went to Lake George, another, in the middle of the state, and that also was all booked up. There was no gigs, in the summer. So we were like, oh, gee, there's no fraternity parties. There's nothing to play. So we went our separate ways. I got a call from the Jeff, who the bass player. He was playing bass with the band in Chicago, and they needed a drummer, and they were willing to fly me and my gear out to Chicago. So I went to Chicago, played in this band. I met the guy, the label guy. They had been signed to a label, and they were making a record. So we practiced a few times, and then the lead singer split, disappeared, never heard from again. He took the money
Ah,
from the record company and he split. So here I am in Chicago, and finally I get a letter from Don Roser, and he says, "I'm coming to Chicago with our friend Steve. Can we hang out with you?" And I'm like, "Sure. I'm staying at the Y." I was writing to my parents like, "Can you send me some money? I need money for my rent."
okay. So the singer left. Then how do you go from that to literal international sensation band
Well,
like the Oyster Cult?
so then they dropped us, and we had no gigs, and that was the moment when my brother Joe joined the band. And Joe said, "I have never, ever in my life been in a band that did not make money. We're going to make money." And so he started getting us gigs and talking to promoters. And all of a sudden we were playing like every week. We did not a week went by where we weren't playing 2, 3, 4 nights, in some little dive. And so we played for a year, all these little clubs all over the place. And then we auditioned for Clive Davis. We changed our names so they wouldn't know that we were the band that got dropped. And we auditioned for Clive Davis, and he said, "Okay." We said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we signed with Columbia, and we got on a tour. We got several gigs where it was just abject failure. We just were like, the first gig that we got that was terrible was we opened for Humble Pie and Steve Marriott, and they just blew us off the stage. I saw Jerry Shirley a couple of years ago, and I said, "Do you remember that show?" And he goes, "No." Software, anybody? Nope. Blue Oyster Cult? Nope, I don't remember. So anyway, but they blew us away. And then the next thing is we got a tour. This is before the record came out. We got a tour with the Byrds. And the opening act was Mahavishnu, the group with Billy Cobham and John McLaughlin. and Jan Hammer on the keyboards, and they had Jerry somebody from the Flock on violin, and they were great. They played before us, then we played, and then the Birds played. So they blew us away with musicianship. Then we played it, did our little funny songs, and then the Birds blew us away with like hit after hit after hit. It was like, So right around that time when we were feeling discouraged, we went to see Alice Cooper in a theater. And that was the first time I ever heard my voice on the radio, because the first single was a song called Cities on Flame that I sing. And so we were we were all in the van going across the George Washington Bridge. I'll never forget this. And it was WABC AM radio. And it was not Cousin Brucey, it was the other guy, Dan Ingram. Dan Ingram plays the song, Cities on Flame, and then we're once again jumping. We're all jumping up and down, like, oh my God, they're playing it on AM radio, and then and then Dan Ingram after the song, he goes, "Wow, that was different." And then we go to see Alice Cooper, and they are the most different group I'd ever seen. They were just like crazy, And at the end of the show, they hung them. I'm like, oh my God. It was, I was actually scared. Like, how did they do that? And so about 2 months later, we played a bunch of other gigs. We opened for the James Gang and some R&B guys, and I can't remember now. Spirit. I don't know. I'm sure your audience is younger and don't know any of these groups. So we played with a lot of groups, and then we got on the Alice Cooper tour, and we did about a dozen gigs with them that year, and that was like watching them every night. It was like we just got tons of ideas. So that's really what happened, and then Don't Fear the Reaper came along, and that was like, oh my God. Donald Buck Dharma, he is not a very prolific writer. We would come to do a record, and he would have 1 or 2 songs, and I would have 20. Joe would have like 10. I would have 20. Don would have 1. Eric would have 2. Alan would have 2. And we'd try and, I'd have to drop a lot of my songs, but I still ended up with most of the songs. So it didn't matter to me. I'm like, yeah, put your name on it. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I never really did. The only thing I would not want would be for my name to be taken off of something that I wrote.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing credit with people that help.
When you have a juggernaut like that now is still it's such an iconic song, to know that you played on it, and then for it to be, obviously featured on SNL in that way, and obviously that's the sincerest form of flattery, right? Like that's the biggest compliment, really. Although it obviously satire, but how does that feel after all that slaving away and having all those failures, and then being dropped and signed and dropped and losing singers and everything, to then have that as a launch pad, surely, for the next few years?
Everybody this is common knowledge that whatever, anytime you have a failure, that's a growth opportunity, a big growth opportunity. And I think that helped a lot for us, just realizing, what not to do, and also to kind of solidify, that's a bad word, but, to know what's really in your heart, what you want to do.
Well, it's so awesome that you sent in your guitar story, which obviously I'm going to pair with the Tuesday Talks episode. So the way... Have you got the guitar?
Of course I do. Here it is.
There it is.
I love That's the Best.
Yeah.
He was going to paint
so
over
cool.
Gibson. I said, don't do that. Yeah, this is Jeremy Harper. He was the art director. He's the guy that got me started on the vlogs, actually. I should have mentioned his name. But yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, this is a great little guitar. It's got a super thin neck. It's like really easy to
I like that.
bend notes. It's a great bendy guitar. And it's light. I have another really great guitar. It could be a guitar story, but this is the most interesting one. The other one is I have this 68 gold top Les Paul.
Oh.
And I got that when I left Blue Oyster Cult because Eric Bloom had a 69 Les Paul. And every time we come off the road, he would let me borrow it to make my demos. And I listened to the demos, I'm, whoa, wow, that guitar sounds great. So when I wasn't in the group, I went on a search.
At the beginning of this video, I mentioned Nebula, my amazing streaming platform, which is where I'm hosting exclusive and ad-free videos. You can see an extended version of this episode without this advert, plus my in-depth conversations with Cory Wong, Tomo Fujita, and Josh Turner, as well as my European tour diary. There's just loads to dive into. The best way to access Nebula is by signing up to a subscription for CuriosityStream, who are very kindly sponsoring this video. If you aren't already aware, CuriosityStream is the best place on the internet to see thousands of the world's finest documentaries and non-fiction titles. It is the biggest documentary streaming subscription platform, founded by John Hendricks, the founder of the Discovery Channel. My documentary pick is Capturing Woodstock, a beautiful short telling the story of how Oscar-winning producer Dale Bell made the iconic film that helped the festival achieve its legendary status. I learnt how they only had a week to plan and yet managed to pull the whole thing off using the latest technology available to them at the time. It took 45 people and 15 cameras to create the historical rock and roll film. You should definitely check it out. We worked out a deal that if you sign up for CuriosityStream with the link in the description, you'll also get a Nebula subscription for free. And just to give you a little more information, that Nebula subscription isn't a trial. It's free for as long as you're a CuriosityStream member. For a limited time only, CuriosityStream is offering 26% off their annual plans. That's less than $15 a year for CuriosityStream and Nebula, which is a pretty amazing bundle. So if you click on the link in the description or go to curiositystream.com/Mary Spender, it helps me and my fellow creators keep producing informative content. Ooh, and now it's time for Patreon of the day. I've got my random number generator, 385. Who is 385? Brian E. Leary, you are my patron of the day. Thank you so much for your support. To everyone else, thank you for watching. I really, really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was an absolute honor for me to talk to Albert. But if you haven't, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll be seeing you very soon.